Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, entitled airline passenger tried helping themselves to my upgraded seat. She tried to pin his car troubles on me. Friend feels entitled to control how much money his girlfriend spends. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled airline passenger tried helping themselves to my upgraded seat. I used to fly for work, a lot. I have so many entitled people stories it stopped surprising me to run into the behavior. This is one such story. Cast: me, myself, and I equals me. EP equals entitled person. FA equals flight attendant. Being someone that used to fly a lot, I constantly was upgraded to business class, first class, or simply just upgraded seats using miles. Since this was a connection for me, I arrived and boarded later than most of the plane. As soon as I walked into the plane, I saw someone was sitting in my seat since I had been upgraded. Now, if you fly enough, someone sitting in your seat is not an uncommon occurrence. Me: excuse me, I believe you are in my seat. EP does not even bother looking up at me, waves his hand dismissively at me and said, let's just switch seats so I can sit beside my wife. Me: sure. What is your seat? EP: snickerdoodle. Now I do not remember exactly what seat number he said, but it was the last row of the airplane. Aisle seat. Right by the bathroom. Yes, I have had to fly in those seats in the past. Remember, my assigned seat was in the first class/business class section. Now, I have switched seats with people innumerable times in my life without a second thought. Even first class seats, the look of someone getting to unexpectedly ride first class is priceless, but the way this guy was behaving and what he was expecting, this was not one of those times. Me: no. I am just going to sit in my assigned seat. Now he finally looked at me. EP: well, I want to sit by my wife, so I am not moving. Me: well, if you want to sit by your wife, I am sure whomever is sitting way back there would be more than happy to switch seats way up here so you can sit back there with your wife. He didn't like that at all. For what could he really say at that point without sounding like a jerk? He just stared at me. Me: now annoyed. Move. EP: I am not moving. Ding darn right, I pushed the call button. FA: yes sir, how may I help? I hand her my ticket and say that he is sitting in my seat. She asks for his ticket, checks both tickets, sees his seat number and, in my mind at least, gave him a look of seriously? FA: yes sir, you need to sit in your assigned seat. EP: I want to sit beside my wife. Well, I wasn't missing a beat and parroted my original statement about me being sure whomever was sitting back there beside him would be more than happy to switch seats and sit up here. Boy oh boy, that obviously made him angry. FA looks at EP's wife and says, ma'am, would you like to switch seats so you can sit by your husband? EP's wife: no. FA continues in that all too familiar flight attendant voice that lets you know you have no choice. Well sir, you have to sit in your assigned seat, so please gather your things. What a sad and pathetic sight it was seeing this grown man act like a baby, gather his things and then sulk towards the back of the plane. Yes. His wife sat beside me that flight and didn't join her husband in the back of the plane. No. We didn't talk to or look at each other even once, which was perfectly fine with me. Imagine dismissively expecting someone to give up their first class/business class seat to sit in the very last row of the airplane by the bathroom. I've heard of people doing this to try to score a free upgrade. One partner, or parent, even, gets a first class ticket, the other gets a bottom of the barrel economy seat and begs for a swap to be with family. I feel like it unfortunately works on confrontation-averse people. I was actually offered a seat in business once since the gentleman wanted to sit next to his partner who was in economy. It was hilarious because they were right in front of me while boarding and he says to his partner, they'd have to be crazy to give up this offer. I get to my seat, he turns around and offers me the seat. I said, "Thanks, I'd have to be crazy to give up your offer." He went red in the face and then all three of us started laughing. Good times. That's hilarious. I live with my husband and sleep next to him every night. I'm pretty sure we can survive a 4-hour flight in different seats if need be. Plus, if you're separated in the plane, there is slightly higher chance that one of you will survive in case of a crash. Ha ha. One would think. The guy obviously didn't want to be in economy, in literally the worst seat on the plane, while his wife was sitting in the good seats. No idea why he thought someone would take him up on that trade with a wave of his hand. The no-look dismissive wave really stands out the most in that interaction. That reminds me of a situation my BF encountered on Southwest. He'd made sure to check in nice and early, to be in one of the first boarding groups. And he arrived early, to be toward the front of that group. Just as boarding was wrapping up, a couple interrupted his reading. They wanted to sit together and he was beside the only empty seat. They, too, had a very dismissive and entitled attitude. He said if they'd asked nicely, he might have considered it. As it was, both he and the person in the window seat refused. The couple got all agitated and the woman actually wailed, "We cannot be apa art." A flight attendant then informed them that the plane was due to leave. They could take whatever seats were available or leave. They sulked their way into two seats that were only about 4 feet apart. Punchline: it was a 90-minute flight. Good for you. Many would allow this entitled turd to get away with this to avoid conflict. My work was sending me to the Philippines for a couple weeks and the wife came with me. Since work was paying for my flight, we had to buy our tickets separately. As fate would have it, when I bought my tickets, the other seat next to me was all of a sudden taken and only other seat was on the other side of the plane. It was a 232 configuration. So for what I believe was 13 hours flying, I couldn't sit next to the missus, though it sucked. Guess what, we lived. The thought of asking someone to change their seat so I could sit next to her never crossed my mind. I always thought it was rude, lol. Though I am guilty of buying an aisle seat and a window seat for the missus in hopes no one buys the seat next to us. If it happens, we usually offer them the aisle or window, which most of time works out for them since the middle seats are always the worst. She tried to pin his car troubles on me. I am a 22 years old woman. I have been driving daily since I was 18. English is not my first language. From mobile. Today, after grocery shopping, I am just driving out of my parking spot. I see that there is a car illegally parked behind me, but I had space to back out. Suddenly my car's sensors do one loud beep and I instantly step on the brakes. I feel a swaying of the car, and I couldn't decide if I slightly bumped into the car behind me or not. I immediately get out of my car, and I see that there is 5 cms between my car and the other one. I park my car back to its previous spot and immediately go to check out both my car and the other one. I see nothing. Either way, I ask a lady for a pen and paper to write my number and name in case the owner does see a problem. The lady tells me to make sure to make photos and videos, because many people do try and pin other problems on others in these situations. I do so, and thank God I did. I get home by the time a woman calls. We will call her EW, entitled woman. EW tells me I bumped her car so hard that she cannot open the door. I am shocked, because I didn't see anything. But I said I will call her back, just gotta contact my father as he owns the car and therefore the insurance, which we have. He tells me that he wants to see the videos first, and I show him and also show him my car and how it has 0 damage. He calls the woman and tells her that we don't think that I could have caused damage to the car, but if she wants, we will give our info and the insurance can handle it. She flips out and starts telling about like 10 other things she thinks I broke. My father tells her that either she behaves nicely, or he will make this procad a lot more difficult, as we have proof of her illegal parking. She says, I park there because I am too big to get out of the car if I am between 2 other cars. This is no way to talk to a woman, and that little b asterisk tch will pay for this. She also said that her husband will be angry because this is the second time someone bumped into her in that exact parking lot. My dad tells EW to give the time and place and he will sign the papers to get insurance started, but that he is no longer willing to talk to her because of her behavior. At this point I am crying. I never caused any car trouble before. 20 minutes later EW calls me. She starts with an endearing name for my actual name, like saying my dear sweet Emma instead of Emma, which is not my real name BTW. She tells me her husband solved the problem and that I can have a clear conscience now. She wished me a wonderful summer and hang up. I told my dad and he said he thinks that her husband realized that she was trying to pin an existing problem on me, but was unsure. Later that day a man called my dad. They worked together over 15 plus years ago. He told him that his wife was the woman from the parking lot and that when he got there the door could easily open and he is really sorry for her behavior. I am just so glad that the lady told me to take pics and videos. She was a scammer. A bad one at that. Your dad and even her husband knew what she was up to. One day, she scammed the wrong person and landed her oversized but in jail or worse. Hopefully she cannot use naivety against others. I am so glad that other woman looked out for me there. Now there's a bit of karma for you. Dad's former coworker stepped up and had your back. Bet his wife got an earful when he realized what happened. Nice outcome. Many years ago I gently nudged a pickup while parallel parking. I went inside and found the owner and explained and asked them to check for damage. They pointed out a rusted dent in their bumper and tried to blame me. I reached in my car and pulled out a tape measure and measured her dent and then the same height on my car and asked how my plastic could dent her metal without even being damaged. She huffed and said forget it. Yeah. She tried to say I dented stuff that were way too high for my car to reach due to its shape. I park there because I am too big to get out of the car if I am between two other cars. Sounds like a personal problem to me. She made the choice to be that obese. And I can guarantee that excuse won't hold up in court for illegally parking like that. I had exactly the same thing happen to me, but my insurance still paid the opposite party. In my generation we call this a learning moment. Glad everything worked out, but you will always remember this one instance in your life and will be proactive in any accident. Friend feels entitled to control how much money his girlfriend spends. I, F35, have a friend, M38, that seems to feel like he is entitled to control other people's lives when it comes to money. I have known this guy for 4 years now and I have noticed how much of an entitled person he can be. A little backstory about our relationship. We met in 2019 on a dating website and I dated him for 2 years before he broke up with me because I was too fat for him and that I wasn't ambitious enough for him. Note, I am getting 3 degrees in communication studies, and thus he started dating other women who were deemed good enough for him before breaking up with them when they started getting fat or weren't up to his standards. But as I dated him he used to throw temper tantrums if I so much as walked out a store with more than one shopping bag as he deemed to be a shopping spree. One example is I went to Walmart and got essentials such as toothpaste, toothbrush, personal hygiene products, and a pair of tights and walked out of the store with 5 bags as they couldn't fit into one, and he yelled at me on the drive to his place about how I wasted so much money when things were cheaper at a discount store that he knew of. He also would hold up a line in the store to scan every single item in the cart with his phone to find a deal so he can price match it, or walk out of the store with nothing and drive to the store where it's cheaper, sometimes 2 hours away from his town, just to save a buck or even a few cents. So he was embarrassing to be around in public when he'd do these things or even yell at people who didn't honor his price matching skills. So after we broke up and he designated me as his only friend in the world, he began dating another girl who he'd treat the same way he treated me, to the point he actually fought with her daily about how much money she'd spend on things he'd deem useless. He actually yelled out his GF's name during a festival when she left his side to go look at something. He then got upset with her and said in front of the stall worker that it was too expensive and useless junk while leading the girl he was with away. They ended up breaking up due to these things and other issues in the relationship. So now we come to his current girlfriend, F40, who comes from a wealthy background and has a high-paying career. He has told me on multiple occasions that she's a trust fund baby and that he cannot stand how she's aloof and out of touch with the common man because she lives in a place that she owns and was able to get facial reconstruction surgery to fix a few things on her face that was affecting her health. I know from his retellings of the events that he said that his GF's brother treated him like the hired help when he was helping with taking care of his GF after her surgery, but I do know he tends to lie to make himself look like the victim all the time. On Tuesday he calls me all upset and says that they had a fight because his GF didn't listen to him about money. Mind you, his GF had gone on a trip with friends and she invited him to come along. She told him the price for the B&B, but he got upset because it was $1,000 a night and everyone was paying their own way. He told me that he got offended because she was wasting money and was in a red state when he said that they'd treat his GF and her friends horribly as they're part of the LGBTQIA+ community. When I heard him say this, I was like, how would they know they're part of that community? They wouldn't be shouting it from the rooftops or bringing attention to themselves. So I was like, his statement was stupid as always. Then he got to the part where he started calling her a trust fund baby, said that since she's in her 40s that all of her eggs are dried up, and that he makes $60K a year and he has to pay a lot for his apartment and that he's struggling and finds it offensive how she can jet off on a vacation and stay in a B&B and go shopping without breaking the bank. He actually told me how she got laid off from her job and how she was able to stay afloat till she got a new job and only lost $20,000, which he said didn't make a dent in her accounts, whereas he had to struggle and live off his life savings when he got fired from 3 jobs. The reasons why are another story. He then went on a long tirade about how she needs to be sensitive to his feelings and know that not everyone can just throw money around. He also claims that she is using white privilege to live her life while he has to suffer from oppression because he's Jewish. Mind you, he is a snowy blonde white guy. I pointed out how he's white and he said he's Jewish and not white. So I did that part of the conversation as he was getting upset that I pointed this out to him. Mind you, he has said in the past he wanted a rich girl as he felt like she'd buy him anything he wants just by asking. I have spoken with his family members, who I am very close to, and they told me he's been making his GF pay for him whenever they go out as he claims to be broke. But he isn't broke at all and only did it cause he feels entitled to it. A few other things are that if he's dating someone who is lower income than he is, he'll actually make snide comments such as, "I'm not your provider," or "This is a provider relationship and I don't do that." And his greatest hit was, "Since you're not working." Mind you, that one is directed towards anyone he dates who may not have a job at the moment due to being laid off or searching for a better one. He is very entitled to trying to dictate people's money, but yet seems to act like he's entitled to complaining when a person isn't spending their money on him. A little thing of note. He didn't grow up in a household that didn't always have money. His parents worked round the clock and had great jobs. He works at a hospital and makes good money but lives like he's low income, but he has 2 cars and 2 motorcycles and lives in a pretty nice townhouse. When he was fired from the jobs he had gotten, he blamed everyone but himself and his nasty attitude. He believes that his job is way more important than other fields and looks down on many other career fields as he believes medical is the field everyone should pursue. You are describing someone with many of the traits of the coercive, controlling abuser. I have to ask, why are you still friends with this man? This was going to be my question. Why do you still associate with this person, OP? Way past time to cut all contact with him. You don't need that kind of toxicity. Why are you friends with him? He sounds exhausting and a total drip. I want to say I bet he's fun at parties, but he probably never gets invited to any. Welp, cut him off. You know the 90% of the time you don't pick up? Make it 100%. If you won't block him, OP, then give him an obnoxious ring and text tone so you're sure not to accidentally give him attention when you don't want to. tell his current girlfriend. And block this guy. Why are you still friends with him? I want to tell her so badly, but I gotta figure out a way to tell her without him buzzing around her. Like he stays in the room and eavesdrops on conversations and then adds his 2 cents in when he wants to be proven right. It was originally cause I was in a super dark place after he dumped me and he had a hold on me. Then his mom asked me to remain friends with him when his dad died as he was grieving. Then it evolved into pity. But I am slowly trying to cut him out by not answering his calls. But I think I may stay around to warn other women cause I do not want any woman to go through hell with this guy. It's very pathetic that you're friends with an ex who broke up with you because you're fat. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.